Hello, and welcome to SFA All Access. In today's show, we will be discussing the NSSLHA and how it helps future speech pathologists and people with communicative disabilities. Approximately 18.5 million individuals struggle with speech disorders. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this one. Welcome to SFA All Access. I'm your host, Winston Purefoy, and today we're going to be talking with SFA President of the National Student Speech Language Hearing Association, Sarah Riley. Sarah is a junior studying to get her bachelor's in communication sciences and disorders to become a speech pathologist one day. We will discuss the importance of her organization and how it advocates for people of communicative disabilities. As a bonus, you and the viewers can take away from this discussion and implement these important speech strategies into your daily life. So, how's your day going?
It's going good. I'm here, doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you. We're really excited to have this interview.
Thank you.
So what motivated you to join this organization?
So I heard about it, and they were doing a lot of really good stuff as far as like good volunteer opportunities and really good meetings, like really informative. And plus, it's really good on the resume. Looks really good to be a part of that. So I kind of just jumped in, and then I really liked it.
Perfect. Well, what is required of you as the NSSLHA president?
So basically, everything kind of just runs through me. I kind of coordinate with everyone and delegate to the other officers for hosting events and kind of making sure that they run smoothly. And really just making sure that if we have any events for kids that they're taken care of as well.
Oh, that's perfect. So how do you kind of take care of kids in those events?
So a lot of the stuff we do involves kids. So anything that we host that involves children, we have to make sure that they come and they have fun, but also, if they have any kind of communication disorders or impairments, that they're using communication at these events, that it kind of seems subtle though, so it's working on that, but also they're having fun. So.
Well, how do you that brings me to my next question, how do you incorporate fun activities around such a serious subject?
So since there is such like a big part that has to do with kids, we'll have meetings, kind of talking about the more important stuff, like grad school and stuff like that. And then to try to incorporate kids, we'll do things like festivals, or we'll volunteer at events and invite the kids that are at the clinic to come. And so any chance that we can, we'll try to get kids to come out and talk and enjoy.
That's perfect. How do you apply material that you've learned from the organization into the professional atmosphere?
So a lot of things that we learn in NSSLHA have to do with, a lot of professors will speak, we'll have guest speakers, and they'll talk about their specific emphasis that they focus on. And so we'll listen to that and discuss, and professors will be there. And all that information is really important, and we'll take that forward for a real long time with us, and it'll be nice.
Well, I saw on social media that you hosted an event called Fall Fest. How did that event positively impact the children's lives in regards to, the disorders that they might have?
So Fall Fest actually went really, really well this year. It was really great. So we have therapy rooms, and the grad students decorated it, and they invited all their kids that they're working with. So they got to see their therapists, and they got to see everyone, and they got to dress up and candy. And of course, every games, we had games downstairs, and they were able to, speak to us, ask, what candy they wanted. And so it went really, really well. I was really happy with it.
Was there a theme?
Each therapy room had a different theme, actually. So there's 8 therapy rooms, and there's like 2 to 3 grad students in each. And they would pick a room. So people had like neon, Finding Nemo, and the kids loved it.
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. I know I'm a big Finding Nemo fan.
It was. They were too.
So, kind of, what's the process, and what kind of happens after a client does get diagnosed with kind of a disorder?
Yeah, so it kind of just depends on like the setting. But they get it referred. They go through assessments, and we talk with the families and kind of figure out what's going on. And once they do figure out what's happening and what the impairment is, or if there is one, then we kind of work with, family setting goals specifically about what we want that child to reach, what developmental aspect we want them to reach, and then we'll just of course there's, insurance and all that, but that's not the fun part. And then we just kind of start working with them and, letting them kind of grow with us.
What are some of the most common kind of disorders that you see most of the time whenever you're in labs or?
Yeah, so one I do see is probably just delays, that they're developing, but they're not developing with their peers, and so we might have to early childhood intervention is something that we do. Might have to just kind of catch them up a little bit, make it family focused. I've seen that a lot, especially this semester. I've seen.
Okay, what is exactly early childhood intervention?
So ECI is basically for children 0 to 3, and it's mainly family focused, and they will give the family tools and resources to help their child just move forward. So we're basically just give the parents resources and try to help them teach their kids.
Oh, man. Sounds like you guys do a lot of help.
Yes, there's a lot. It's a lot, but it's so fun. It's so great.
Yeah, what's your favorite aspect about it?
Probably, I think seeing the progress is really cool. Seeing from start to middle to finish. I think that's just really interesting, and seeing the therapist kind of work through and figure stuff out on the fly. It's really cool.
Well, all right. After the break, we will be back with Sarah to dive deeper into the world of speech pathology. Welcome back to All Access. We have here the SFA NSSLHA president with us to talk about the importance of material on speech pathology. So I guess kind of my first question now is the organization has a purpose to help students learn how to become a speech pathologist. How does that first diagnosis start when you're diagnosing someone? How does that whole process start?
So we really get that in NSSLHA too. They'll come in and kind of tell us, because it's a really complicated process, depending if you're in schools or if they come to a private clinic. There's a lot of different settings, and depending on if they come through a clinic or a school, there's different funding that they get or different processes that they have to go through. Very, very strategic. But so they'll start as like a referral. They'll come in, or if there's any concerns that like a teacher or parent may have, they'll bring their kid in. And sometimes, we'll say, that's normal, they're fine. And, sometimes we're like, okay, well, let's do further screening. So they'll do screening tests or assessments to really just kind of see what further thing they need. And if they recognize anything else, there's hearing tests, vision tests. They'll kind of just run through everything. And once they really pinpoint it, what's really going on, then we'll really get started with figuring out what works best for the kid, because that's like the most important part, is what works for them, and taking into account their age and their interests and their diagnosis. Sometimes we have to make certain adjustments to how we do that. So, and then from there, it's just working with them every week or however often we decide.
Well, perfect. Is there anything you show a client to understand a therapy session better?
So there's a lot of resources that we use. We'll bring in a lot of stuff into the room. I mean, you should see the materials room that we bring in. One thing specifically is, tell maybe a kid that's visual learner, or maybe they need to see what you're talking about. I know that there is a respiratory model that we do use to kind of maybe show them or emphasize, like, here's what's happening, here's what you need to see. And it's actually really cool. I really like it to kind of pull that out. And we also really use that a lot in class. They'll pull out that model. We've had to make models because they really want to drill that into your brain so that you can further explain that to a parent or a child later on.
Well, are any of these kind of examples things that you use in your organization as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever we have like guest speakers come in and they'll explain something, professors will bring in models of, the different systems in the body. They'll bring in, demonstrations, they'll bring in videos. One thing I really love is when they bring in actual therapy sessions, like videos, and they'll show us. It's really cool.
Heck yeah. Can everyday people that aren't diagnosed with the disorder utilize the speech pathology techniques that we've discussed today?
Yes. So everything that we kind of teach parents or children can really be applicable to more than just their speech. It really has to do with a lot of aspects of speech has to do with, body language and social interactions, pragmatics. And so a lot of the things that we'll teach or that we're taught also can really be applied to, how to interact with peers, how to interact with adults, proper body language, proper how to interact in a conversation. And so those things that we're taught are really just, they can really apply to everything, and it's really nice.
All right. So I have problems swallowing.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, I will choke on water quite
Okay.
frequently. It feels like it goes down the wrong pipe. Is there anything that you can tell me that'll help me out? I've been told that's a speech pathology issue.
So it is, you're right. And I would hate to diagnose you right now. But there is a thing, it's called dysphagia, and it's a swallowing difficulty. And it could just be that you're clumsy, and it could just be that you might be going too quick when drinking, but there's an actual problem where, it'll go down the wrong pipe and it can go down into the lungs and it can actually cause a real serious problem. And so that's what that is. Hopefully you don't have that.
I might actually be just clumsy, but
yeah, maybe.
Who really knows at this point?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of been up in the air with a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Come down to the clinic.
And where exactly is the clinic?
So it's on here on campus. It's right there by the Human Services building, and we have a whole clinic. It's fully stocked up. Audiology, everything is there. So you're set.
Perfect. Well, then I'll have to definitely come down and check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Is it by chance near the Quack Shack, as we call it at SFA, the Student Health Services building?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, perfect. Well, that's all we have for you today. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us and helping us understand the NSSLHA organization and its correlation with speech pathology. To learn more about SFA NSSLHA, you can visit their social media page. I'm Winston Purefoy, and stay tuned for next week's episode of All Access. Have a great day.